Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to Game 3 of Team duobao up against LGD Gaming in what should be a very entertaining final matchup. The underdogs, duobao, ended up taking Game 1 in a very convincing fashion, and afterwards were almost able to wrench away the hopes and dreams of all the Bugattis winners all across the world in Game 2, and hopefully going to be able to make it happen here in the second one. I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by GrandisV. How are you doing on this fine evening?
I'm enjoying it quite a lot, and I think this series was a bit of a surprise. Nobody really expected duobao to do so well going up against LGD, regarded as one of the best teams in the world. If you have a top 10, LGD should probably be there. But Chinese Dota right now is in a bit of a weird place in that on a good day, any team can beat pretty much any other team, and that's always fun to see. And really, I'm not sure if duobao are going to be able to win this game, but I still think everybody should be pleasantly surprised that duobao are playing very well. And although they weren't able to pull game two through, a lot of that comes down to LGD just super well coordinated fights. During the second half of the game, it felt like a switch was turned on and LGD were just ready to go. And it was a pleasure to watch, but already a change of pace from the first two games. We're not going to see Quap and we're not going to see Slaughter. Instead, it's a doom for LGD.
I think this makes sense. Dazzle has really, I felt like, been somewhat of the defining hero in both of the games that we've seen so far. Queen of Pain, obviously, in the last game, being able to really just run all over that Shadow Fiend in the mid lane and have a great time all around. But I think that the defensive supports, we've talked about it all night, is great to be able to take him out of the pool, particularly if you want to try and take a couple yourself in there. We see the Winter Wyvern picked on up now. duobao could go back for a Wind Ranger at some point if they wanted to, considering they're in a position where they're already able to take it. Maybe we end up seeing more of this minus armor draft, which has been another key component of these drafts, is being able to pick on up that Slaughter. The Shadow Fiend, I think, has gotten picked in every game as well. But instead, they're going to be going for a Tusk, who this time did end up making it through the pool. And of course, now that I'm looking at it, Slaughter did get banned, so disregard everything that I said.
You know, I still think it holds some merit. The minus armor strategies are very popular right now, and maybe we see LGD pick themselves up something like a Shadow Fiend for their mid lane, as they are on the Radiant side, could work out pretty nicely for them. But it really doesn't get much better than Winter Wyvern Tusk when it comes to raw power level of the individual hero. They don't have amazing synergy together, of course, but they're so strong by themselves that you put them together and you're already pretty happy with how the game is going. But interestingly enough, LGD going to pick themselves up the bounty hunter. They seem to really value the vision that MMY was able to bring them in that second game.
Definitely, and I think that this makes a lot of sense as well. Denying out the Winter Wyvern Darkseer combo, also of course with the Tusk you can kind of shards and snowball through all that other stuff and just create a ton of damage. I will say that already you're starting to see the dynamics of this draft shape themselves out. Doom Bounty Hunter, very much about pushing this game to the late stages, potentially being able to find those pickoffs. Obviously they can be important in team fights, but I think really one of the best ways and the best things about these heroes is their ability to sort of shut down an individual person and find the pickoffs that are going to allow you to take objectives afterwards. And if you go for kind of a split pushy oriented build, these are two mainstays of that playstyle. So Darkseer taking him out of the pool means that the sort of group up and get that mechanism on up there, vacuum wall on top of all these other big team fight ultis, it makes sense to take him out of the pool. And we're going to see the Shadow Fiend taken away, not wanting to give them any of that coveted minus armor.
That said, I think Bounty Hunter is still a very valuable pick. It's not going to be the easiest of games for Bounty Hunter to get pickoffs or even get involved with just one other hero and find a kill because of the defensive power of the Tusk and the Winter Wyvern, which Winter Wyvern we haven't seen very much in this series since that has been banned out quite a lot, is so very potent. Bounty Hunter needs really his full burst combo and then to be able to chase down for a couple more auto attacks to reliably get kills on supports. And Winter Wyvern stops at pretty much dead in its tracks. Now, for LGD, their next ban, it's going to be a Viper, just taking away a very, very safe mid laner.
Yep, and another hero that also is a mech carrier. Tusk can be as well, but one of those heroes that's sort of, you know, lane dominator, as you said, but also mid-game team fighty, group up and push. And at least so far, that to me is kind of what I'm seeing. And they take on out the Ember as well, not wanting to give that great split pushing threat. And also just another hero who can fight somewhat early depending upon how you build him. He's such a versatile hero. It really That's, I think, one of the best parts about his kit there is that you can go on into the drums and, be able to fight early there if you ended up going for like the drums treads that you sometimes end up
10
seeing, or
seconds
you can go
remaining.
for the boots of travel into the crazy split push all over the map.
5 seconds
Yeah,
remaining.
absolutely. And it's just one of those heroes that you'd rather not deal with, even if you think you have enough
Reserve
lockdown
time.
tools for the Ember Spirit. He's just so mobile that it's very hard to make that all line up and for you to be able to get those kills where you want them. Winter Wyvern, such an open-ended first two picks coming up from Team DB, and it'll be interesting to see what they settle on for this third selection. It could tell a lot about the draft, or it could just be another veiled pick, just another support to throw into the mix.
Yeah, time will tell. I think that probably. So Tusk, obviously he got played as an offlaner for a long time, sort of switches into that support role from time to time. Is there a role that you like this hero in more? Does it depend upon the enemy draft? Is it something where you want to look for a particular matchup? What's your feel on this hero in terms of where he fits?
Well, I mean, Duba's going to answer that for
LGD's
themselves, but I
turn to
really do
pick.
like Tusk when he's able to move around the map and find early kills, just abuse the power of Ice Shards and Snowball as quickly as possible and set up kills for your team. Start him off in the offlane, maybe, but then move around very liberally. This game, maybe he's not going to join the Clockwork in the offlane. Clockwork probably just fine by himself and would probably rather have it that way just to get as much experience as possible. But the initiation range and control coming out from Duba is pretty awesome. But right now what's lacking is damage, and that's going to have to come out from their safe lane farmer and their mid hero. That said, I can't really think of a standard mid or safe lane that isn't going to fill that void in some form or fashion. And well, for LGD now, what's a response to the Clockwork Tusk? Something like a Rubik could be interesting here, although another one of those more damage light heroes, being able to lift the Clockwork outside of the cogs, being able to get your hands on something like a Snowball or an Ice Shards, or ideally like a Winter's Curse, could be very interesting for them.
I like the Rubik pick potentially. That's a lot of disable. It seems to me like that could be a pretty strong pick. The other one that I was thinking about might be a Disruptor. It
Mm-hmm.
works well against the Tusk as well. You snowball on in, and maybe he brings another person in with him, and you're going to be able to get laid on down a kinetic field into a static storm. I like this sort of setup. It seems to me like that could be a pretty cool one, and we'll see how that ends up working out. Another pick now for LGD that they go for the Rubik instead. This probably gives you a better scalability into the late game.
Yeah, the Rubik's also very good against the Clockwork. As an offlaner, his only defensive mechanism is those cogs. And if you have a way to pull him out of the cogs, the Disruptor you're mentioning is very good at that, but also the Telekinesis, you can make his defense mechanism work against him, where he's walled off himself and can generally just be very annoying for him to deal with. That said, Rubik is a bit on the squishy side, and Tuscan Clockwork, if they can isolate him, I suppose, and the Rubik's already used his Telekinesis, could end up being in a little bit of a pickle. But I like the pick, and I think it synergizes well with LGD's playstyle. Their supports, however, are going to be not super useful early outside of the defensive aspect. You are going to poke and prod. You're going to try for kills, but they need something a little bit harder hitting. Something like Silo's Gyrocopter comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, so the other thing here that I'm looking at, you think about again the way that I was talking about this draft starting out, big team fighty versus trying to, split push and maybe keep lanes pushed out. Rubik fits that role exceptionally well. Fadebolt is probably one of the best anti-push spells in the game outside of like a Coddle Blast or something. And then likewise, Clockwork, one of the best heroes at being able to initiate and keep a team fight going. If a Clockwork cooks on top of you, you are going to fight. There's no two ways about it. So I think that both of these drafts are so far trying to accomplish what they want to do, and I am feeling like I'm feeling like it's going to come down to execution at this point.
Yeah, if you get a good amount of farm, unlike the Bounty Hunter or the Rubik, and get a quick force staff, that can be so very annoying for Dubat to deal with and can stop that reliable initiation from the Clockwork. And we'll have to see how that plays out for them. But right now it feels like LGD, again, are in a situation where if their draft starts snowballing, the Bounty Hunter and the Doom are just going to accelerate themselves so much. And now a Zeus for LGD. I love it. This is an interesting pick to see fourth. I think they probably could have left this until their fifth pick. Still, it's going to allow them to get global kills with the Bounty Hunter, and it's just a mass amount of damage, if nothing else, that goes through the cold embrace of the Winter Wyvern. An interesting selection, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, Definitely. And the other thing about it is we talked about pushing out lanes. Like, how are you going to try and push high ground against this lineup? I think that probably, because Zeus is also going to be getting a force staff here. Like, if Clockwork hooks on in, you're going to be able to force stuff out. Maybe afterwards the Clockwork can continue to force staff further forward and, run him down with battery assault. But it's going to be really hard to push this base. And I wonder if LGD at this point just go for something crazy like sort of a last pick Spectre maybe, or something that really secures them the late game.
Could be very interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Still, there is a lot of aggressive potential coming up from Team DB. And the weakness of this Zeus pick, especially in the fourth slot, is that he is very susceptible to being killed off by the likes of Tusk rotations. Yeah. He's incredibly immobile in the laning stage, even with a little bit of help from the Bounty Hunter. And in fact, having the Bounty in Zeus's lane is pretty nice, because if they try to drop defensive sentries, you just Thunderbolt and D-ward those away very quickly and can make the Bounty Hunter be a very potent poking threat. The Wind Ranger is going to be very hard to kill with her Wind Run, and now a Huskar for duobao. This is terrifying. We saw Huskar earlier, and I think duobao might be able to win the series. I like their draft a lot better than LGD, I'll be honest. But that said, I mean, this fifth pick could change things. I'm trying to think of a fifth pick that's really going to tie things together. This Huskar is terrifying.
Yeah, look at their lineup right now. I mean, you've got Level Death magical, Score Thirch magical. Of course, Doom is pure, but then Shuriken Toss. Janata, some amount of physical damage. Fade Bolt. Everything on Zeus's lineup is just destroyed by this. Like, I don't even know if Zeus can actually go to lane against this Huskar right now. If they throw Huskar in the mid lane, I think that probably they throw Wind Ranger mid, but yeah, and they pick on up the TA. That makes sense, but God, this is really terrifying.
Okay. I like the switching gears. Our TK Zeus, throw him into the off lane. Of course, he's probably going to die a couple of times, but that's within the realm of reason. I think LGD land themselves in a much better situation, but it's still not going to solve the problem. Templar Assassin and Doom, as the game progresses later, get very good against Huskar once you have high amount of physical damage from the TA. Like Deso Daedalus, and then your defensive item, whatever that may be. And then Doom, once he gets that Aghanim Scepter, is going to mean that all of the magic damage from LGD is suddenly super relevant again. And Zeus, with the scaling from his passive, actually does a massive amount of damage to Huskar if they have the break on him, which is going to be what LGD look to do. I think I still favor duobao's draft, but not by that much. If LGD are able to execute how they did in the second half of game number 2, if they're able to pull that off, even if they lose a couple of heroes, if they're able to appropriately find those openings, get a couple of track kills here and there, maybe they lose some in return, but as long as they maintain an item advantage, I definitely think they have a large chance to win. But the windows are very specific, right? We'll have to see who's going to be able to hit them well.
See, the thing that I'm wondering about also now is if we end up seeing the Doom go for a Shadow Blade into a Silver Edge. To me, that's one of the few games where a Blink might not be quite as good against duobao's draft. Also because the Clockwork ends up being able to probably find the initiation on you a lot of the time. And, well, Shadow Blade isn't going to help you a whole lot in that situation either. It does seem like if you want to find an initiation item, your Blink can kind of just get countered out by the very nature of that hero. So I'm not sure. I think that it's worth it, and it's worth thinking about for that break mechanic, or maybe just ends up going straight for Ags. I'm not sure.
We'll have to find out. And again, it's also another situation where if he wants a mobility item, maybe he decides like Force Staff into Ags is the way to go, just because of how powerful that is against duobao's heroes. And even the Huskar to a lesser extent. If Huskar is jumping you and you Force Staff back in your team, maybe you're able to catch him out where he overextends, then you turn around with Templar Assassin's Burst, which even if Huskar has his Armlet and he has all of those defensive tools against physical damage, can still get really hard if you're unlucky. Oh, Ice Shards.
Going to be able to connect down here on the bottom lane. That is going to be potentially a first blood as Rubik is going to get away. Are you kidding me? What are you doing? Chase him on down. That's going to be the kill. Meng ends up getting it. You know what? We're taking a look at this game here. We're seeing how it's starting out. If we end up seeing duobao win this off the back of a last pick Huskar, I feel like people are going to be so freaking salty at the end of this, which is pretty wonderful. But regardless, we do end up seeing a couple more heroes roaming on into the area over here. Several observer wards dropped down in full vision of each other, but so far, not a whole heck of a lot of sentries. That being said, if MMY gets a little bit too fresh there, they do end up passing out the shards, catching him perfectly. A lot of fire spears are going to end up going out here. Might need one more to be able to find the kill. He's taken a lot of damage. Does he burn down to this? No, he's getting pretty low, though.
Yeah, level 1 Burning Spears, although a very cost-efficient way to trade damage, isn't nearly as potent as level 2. The scaling of it doubles the amount of DPS you're getting from those fire spears by themselves, which is pretty darn crazy. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And something to keep in mind as this game goes through, LGD did go ahead and ban out the Viper. I think they were planning on putting this Zeus mid, but you end up just getting cut out by the Huskar. There's way too many heroes that you need to ban when you're going for such a magic-heavy lineup. And just look at how heavily this Zeus is getting harassed out.
Yeah, it's pretty devastating the way that this has gone here. I think that he's going to be in a somewhat okay position. He just needs to be really careful. Are they actually going to find this kill? I didn't think that they're going to be able to get it on maybe, but with the refraction charges already burning on through, Tusk does have another shards in 8 seconds. There's the Rubik lift. This might be what they need to have to get this on out. We do end up seeing the salve coming on out there. Dust has been dropped as well. There's the shards, and this is going to end up being a kill on maybe? Do we need to say maybe again? Another refraction charge, and they're just chasing him on through here this whole way. So frustrating to play against, and it looks like he is going to drop to this one. Unfortunate. Oh, yeah, he does end up going down.
One of those spears was not a fire spear. So if he misses that kill just barely, it's because he didn't actually actively press that. But still.
Where was that shackle? That was so close. That really should have been. They don't have a power shot as of yet, but one more right click is all they would have needed. Zeus getting away on absolutely no HP. And all across the board, duobao is having a very, very strong start to this game. Now Doom walking back and forth. He's a little bit caught out now. He's going to end up getting shards on up. DD on the Tusk. They end up catching him in the cogs. Are going to be able to right click on down Sylar. And everywhere you go, LGD are just having such a tough time in this draft. Oh god, their lanes have really been messed up so far.
And really the biggest surprise to me is how much this Clockwork's getting out of the bottom lane. He's 12-3. He has 2 kills to his name. Granted, this is a Clockwork that I think got first blood and has been doing amazingly since then. It doesn't feel like anything's going super poorly for DB. The Huskar isn't getting that much farm when it comes to creep, so maybe he's killing off maybe here. With the double damage on Tusk, he's dropping low, will go down. They do get the return kill at the very least, but that's something LGT can be reasonably happy about.
And now they're going to have to roam around these lanes a little bit and change things up slightly. We do have a chance for another shackle here if they want to use it in a second. Sylar's still dropping a little bit low, but Doom is a pretty tanky beast. He's hard to take on down, and I think that this rotation makes a lot of sense. Wherever the Zeus goes, he's going to have a tough time, but hopefully at least against the Clockwork, and only against one hero, he's going to have a bit of a better time. Time will tell, though. We do end up seeing a rotation on into the mid lane now. MMY here as well as the TA and the Rubik. This is going to be a lift back, and I think they end up getting this kill. They don't even have to use the lift as Templar Assassin gets that kill. So LGD responding appropriately and moving around their heroes where they need to make sure that they get the best lanes possible out of this.
And it looks like it's starting to turn around, and LGD have stopped the bleeding and now are starting to get back into this. Maybe he's at the top of the last hit chart, top of that worth too, even though he's died twice. Getting the kills on the Huskar after the fact has turned out to be more important.
These shards have been so on point, and ROTK is going to go down yet again. Meanwhile, the Templar Assassin picking up Bounty. I thought that was another kill there, but it actually wasn't. We do have the Wind Ranger, excuse me, the Bounty Hunter roaming on in here, seeing if they can make something happen against this Wind Ranger and the Winter Wyvern. But I don't think they can find really a whole heck of a lot here. You've got the Cold Embrace that can still come on out. Actually, Winter Wyvern's out of mana and only has a stick. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But so far, the duobao have really been able to make good use of this so far.
Here comes Rubik, here comes Bounty, and this could be a very sketchy situation for Wind Ranger. She has the Wind Run, but they have the Telekinesis in response.
Lifting on back up, that's going to be a shackle. They're still in a little bit of trouble. A couple more right clicks as well as the Shuriken is going to secure that kill, creating a little bit more space in this mid lane, but you don't want to end up giving away those kills to the Bounty Hunter. The early levels are certainly very important for him, and off the back of this, he has been able to get level 3. So not amazing at this point, but still, every little bit counts, particularly, it's sort of, I don't know, I think about it a bit like once he hits that level 6, the hero changes completely in terms of what he's able to bring to the team.
Yeah, I mean, he's not doing amazingly, but he's not doing too bad either. He's found himself involved in 2 kills for the team, and level 3.5, 5.5 minutes in on a roaming bounty hunter. It's not unexpected, and I think it's just fine for them. The scariest part is the fact that this Clockwork is level 6 and nearing level 7, but another rotation bounty in Rubik, and they kill off this Huskar.
They're moving on around. They want to see if they can catch him. Bow in a little bit of trouble on this Huskar. They're going to be able to burn on through that refraction charges. A couple TPs are coming on in now. I think that he still ends up going down here. Unfortunately, Winter Wyvern not able to get in position quickly enough with the Cold Embrace. And that's going to be a quick kill there.
Top lane.
Oh, diving on in. That's going to be Doom committed now. Wind Ranger, do you survive this? Very, very close. Oh, one last tick damage. Ends up living on 3 HP. I'm going to toss on out the power shot as well for good measure.
Oh, she shows.
What was that? What is happening?
Baiting.
There's the shackle turning back around. 14 HP right now. This Wind Ranger is living life so dangerously. And now Huskar has found it on a Pain Train. Clockwork ends up getting a kill on the TA in the mid lane. So we'll take a look at that for a second. But the real story down here is this Wind Ranger just living on 5 HP, 6 HP, trying to run away from here. Do they end up getting another shackle? And now I think that Doom is going to end up going down. Look at this Wind Ranger go. Oh, Clockwork, meanwhile, again, is back over here just tearing apart the Radiant. They're going to end up finding on out the Bounty Hunter as well. And at the end of the day, we're seeing everybody go down for LGD. What is that Wind Ranger bait? 5 heroes now roaming on in to try and take on down this Doom. Fight recap-wise, what is happening in this game, man?
That was hilarious. Oh my goodness. I cannot believe Wind Ranger survives there. That was... She has balls of steel. Like, that was ridiculous. Who makes that play? The Wind Ranger, apparently. And then on the backlines, Clockwork's, of course, killing everybody. That's nothing but wins for DB. Of course, LGD, again, we're seeing them be more efficient in their lanes. Not super far behind when it comes to the net worth and when it comes to the experience, even though that was insane. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah, I think that that's probably going to go in those top plays or whatever. If we end up having them at some point for Dota, it's just like those moments where you sort of, you know, the full extent of your hero, what you're able to accomplish. The fact, right there, you feel the effect of the Doom nerf that ended up coming in. The fact that Scorched Earth was on cooldown for 55 seconds, she knew that she had at least that long to be able to live away from it. And even on like no mana, no HP, I don't know. Ice Frog, please.
I don't think she could have or should have gotten away with it, but she played it perfectly. Like, you can't take anything away from the Wind Ranger. That was not bad play by the Doom. That was just awesome play by the Wind Ranger. Now, the Bounty Hunter is going to keep on moving aggressively. He spots out a Winter Wyvern illusion, and I think they know it's an illusion. Now they definitely do. And MMY is going to make his way towards mid lane. 4 to 8, it looks like it's going pretty terribly for LGD, but the Templar Assassin still maintains her spot on top of net worth, purely to the fact that she has 50 last hits compared to the highest on DB being the 34 on the Wind Ranger. They're just using their map resources better, whereas duobao are fighting and playing out of their mind.
Yeah. You can tell they really want to win this one. Moving on up into the upper bracket, it would put them in such a good position to be able to keep on going forward here, and I think that they have the lineup to do it. Do you think that they need to wait for something like a mechanism up on this Tusk? Is that the item this time around, as we do end up seeing the Clockwork hook on in on top of the Zeus, and he is going to go down yet again. Another quick kill there.
Even though the Zeus has died a couple of times, he's died twice, he's still getting a good amount of experience and can still contribute inside these fights. That said, not if he gets jumped by the Clockwork, and that's a really nice pickup for DB, but right now all the action looks like it's going to be settling on top lane as they want to kill off this Wind Ranger, and this time they're bringing in force.
Yeah, they're coming on in. They've learned their lesson. Don't want to end up messing with this again. Another shackle, going to create a little bit of separation there. And I think Wind Ranger gets out yet again. Clockwork has moved on in. There's going to be the snowball forward, connects onto 2 of them. That's going to be the Doom getting caught out. God, this Wind Ranger baiting so hard. They do end up committing the Zeus ulti, getting away on 20 HP yet again. That being said, we did end up losing the Tusk this time around, and she is just going to continue to bait down to 10 HP. Oh my god, this is some Benny Hill stuff right now. This is craziness. This game, Dota 2.
Okay. Well, that just happened. Stick and Tango value from the Wind Ranger. She'll live. I mean, what more is there to say? This Clockwork is playing out of his mind, though. 8-0 and 0. Meng's Clockwork today has been completely on point. He's finding so much. The biggest lacking factor for DB is the fact that Huskar doesn't have as much farm as he'd like to. Still, he's pretty much tied with the Doom as a fight might break out. Winter Wyvern blows up to the Bounty Hunter and the Zeus.
That was a really weird little engagement. The Winter Wyvern had a haste run and wanted to run on up and steal the bounty as well, but didn't realize that the Bounty Hunter was right there, and so he ended up getting bursted down a little bit too quickly there. So a little bit of a miscalculation as well as not having complete total vision. Nonetheless, this Huskar hasn't had as much impact as we were expecting. Oh my god, jumping from afar maybe is going to be dropped pretty low. There's going to be the dust committed, and that is going to be a kill, I believe. Yeah, he ends up going down, but they're going to be able to take the Tusk with them as well. Meng here does have the hook shot, going to be able to be committed onto the Zeus. Needs to get out of here before they turn around with a lot of damage. Ended up getting caught by his own cogs. They do have Doom up and ready if they want to commit that, but at this point, not quite. Oh, reinitiation. There's the Winter's Curse in the middle of it. We do end up getting the Doom on top of Huskar, but it looks like Sarlar's going to drop pretty low. I think that still they're able to get away from this one. Not enough mana for a Cold Embrace. They're just going to have to go for the deny on this Huskar. I think, no, he actually is going to survive there.
1 HP, literally 1. How many times have we seen that this game? It's absurd, but how that fight breaks out, you open things up on the Clockwork with the Bounty Hunter over in the sidelines while the main fight breaks out, securing RTK the double kill on the Zeus, and now he almost has enough money for probably the Force Staff or the Blink Dagger, whatever he's going to be picking up this game. And it looks like it is just going to be a wanted Force. This game is so crazy. 8-12. I don't think we could ask for much more. This is ridiculous.
If I was Sylar right now, I would be so mad. He has had 3 kills that should have turned back around. Should have had 3 kills at least off of those Dooms, or at least denies, and each and every time just able to get away at the last possible second. Stuff is ridiculous. The Wind Ranger playing out of her mind. I think that though, like if you take a look at net worth, while the baiting has been pretty awesome, she isn't really super farmed, which I think is somewhat okay because the Clockwork has been able to get a lot, but the cores for LGD really have been able to farm pretty effectively.
And at a certain point, money under Clockwork is nice, but he ends up turning more into a utility support hero, and that's fine. He's playing very well, don't get me wrong, but the Wind Ranger does need to transition eventually, but right now we have big pickup for DB. It's going to be the Huskar's Armlet. He's delayed this a lot. He's gone for the Urn and the Magic Stick before going for that Armlet, and as a whole isn't farming as quickly as maybe he would have liked to, but he's gotten a lot of quality time with the creeps and has been mostly left alone. Outside of the big fights that are breaking out. 8-12, DB have the tools at their disposal, but it's amazing to me that LGD still maintain a net worth advantage, more than 2,000 in their favor and 500 experience even, although granted that is one fight from changing, and it very well could swing in the favor of DB. That just goes to show how efficiently they're using the map.
Well, the other thing is they have all of the... Oh, they're going to end up finding out maybe. That's the Winter's Curse down and immediately going to get torn on up here. The Dust has been committed for this one. Enough Burning Spears to take her down. And this is the thing, is that they really right now, sure, LGD have better farming on all of their cores, but I do really believe that duobao are in a position where they can take fights more efficiently. You've got the Clockwork hook on in, you've got the jump in by the Huskar. Their heroes, to a large extent, counter the heroes of LGD, so I don't know. It's pretty crazy.
It really is. Everything's kind of settled down after that kill on Templar Assassin. Templar Assassin does buy out her Blink before going down there, so she doesn't lose a large sum of gold. And so there's at least that silver lining for LGD. She has her item up, and that's really what DB were trying to stop. Still, I'm not sure if this Blink Dagger is by itself enough to allow the Templar Assassin to be super effective inside these fights, mostly because of the Cold Embrace of the Winter Wyvern and just how tanky DB are against physical damage. Even the Huskar, to a lesser extent, with his Armlet, is quite survivable until the Templar Assassin gets her Desolator, or whatever her major DPS pickup is going to be. MMY, Career Snipe?
Oh, can they find it?
Not going to get it, yeah.
Quite. The Wind Ranger is still sort of showing over here in a second to this creep wave, and with the rotation on in with the smoke, might end up seeing another little chase here. There's always the chance for another Doom on top of them. They are going to be able to get off the wind run this time. That's going to be a lot of damage coming on out track down as well, and unfortunately the immortal Wind Ranger is finally going to be taken out. They do end up getting the hook shot in on top of the Doom. Also do have shards in a second if they want to commit that one. Walrus Punch also down there, but now the track kill turning back around. Sylar dropping oh so low. Huskar jumping in on top of the Bounty Hunter, not quite able to get that kill as the Rubik does pick off the Tusk. And despite the fact that, I guess if your Wind Ranger starts off the fight getting doomed and you come on in afterwards, it's kind of hard to turn that one back around, I guess.
Yeah, it really is. And that's not only 2 kills, but I think 2 track kills for LGD. And that's just so much gold income for them. The Templar Assassin, the Doom, now comfortably sitting at the top of the net worth chart. And Wind Ranger increasingly falls behind. And the big thing for me is the fact that RTK is getting so much on this Zeus. 3, 2, and 3. The double kill from the ultimate in mid was crucial for him, and now he has the Force Staff, which means that RTK really doesn't care much about the Clockwork anymore. Of course, the Blade Mail's annoying. You're not going to throw Thunderbolts away the Clockwork more than likely, but he can push out these lanes and feel a lot more comfortable, and so can his teammates. LGD are picking up a lot of momentum.
So I like this play. Come on in here and see if they can take on down Roshan. It's a little bit difficult. Of course, the big problem I feel like is that Bounty Hunter probably has a bit of an idea that this is going on. Maybe not, actually. They might not know about this. I guess with everybody sitting there, they probably do. And, oh god, is duobao going to get killed by Roche? Oh.
He had stick charges and armlet, even though he got bashed. Oh, that attack did more damage than it should have. It really did. I do not blame him for that one. He should have survived, but Roshan got lucky, and sometimes that doesn't mean good things for you.
Yeah, and now again, LGD is going to come back in here. That, like, if you think about that going a little bit differently, and maybe Huskar is actually able to pick on up the Aegis, they're in such a good spot, and now you end up losing a little bit of momentum on your Huskar. Net worth lead is starting to shoot towards that 75k mark. Experience as well, about 4k. We talked about it not being incredibly huge, but it is starting to get to that point now, and I don't know, it's starting to really translate into items. You take a look at this, it's an Urn on Bounty Hunter, sure, fine. Arcane Boots up on the Rubik. Vlad's on Doom, I think, is really, really important. And then the Blink Dagger on the TA is also going to be pretty relevant. The Force Staff also on the Zeus. Like, all of these big items are really starting to be able to make their team fight much more effective than it was a couple of minutes ago.
Especially against the damage coming out from the Wind Ranger. Maelstrom is, of course, nice and all, but I'm not sure if he's going to be flashy enough or able to do enough, but here comes the smoke from the rest of his teammates. It looks like they might be able to isolate RTK.
Yep, there's going to be the jump forward. It's going to be able to force staff to the other side of it, but shards come on out, and that's going to be a quick kill. They are able to catch him. MMY is revealed at this point in time. They do have sentry wards up on top of him. Dust now committed as well, and he is definitely going to go down. Meanwhile, throughout all of this, TA was trying to farm on up the Ancients, not going to be able to make it happen, and now the Tier 1 tower is also going to end up falling. TA is in here, and actually able to do a good amount with the Psyblades, but a 1,500 gold swing at the end, along with 1,600 experience, and duobao making a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah, a little bit. Still, they have to deal with these side lanes. You have Doom taking a Tier 1 tower bottom lane. You have a Rubik who's casually just pushing up to the Tier 2 top and actually getting a lot of damage there as he's kept this catapult alive for quite a while. And this is a bit concerning for DB. That fight in a vacuum is great. They're going to get this Tier 1 tower in mid lane, but now they need to make sure that they get out safely and also don't lose too much. This Tier 2 tower top lane, they have to TP back and defend against a solo split pushing Rubik, and that TP is canceled.
Oh god, that's frustrating. Yeah, and they are going to be able to do a good amount of damage here. He needs to TP on out of here, is working towards his Blink Dagger, and when he gets that, the initiation from him becomes so much more effective. Also, just his ability to position himself effectively. It all is looking up. I don't think that duobao are by any means out of this game. I think their draft is much more suited towards the early stages than LGD is. And as the game goes later, I'm more and more concerned about their ability to actually take meaningful team fights, as we do end up seeing the Tusk reveal the Bounty Hunter. So these types of moments, these are the things that really end up working well as Clockwork gets the last hit with the rocket. KS if I ever saw it.
Now, my biggest question right now is this a Radiance Doom? 4,000 gold in bank.
I honestly think it's probably more worth it to go for Agnes, but if he feels like Radiance is the option, I'm certainly not going to argue with him at all.
There's so many good items for Doom to pick up here, so I think it's just up to him to decide which one he wants. No, the Huskar is going after Armlet Toggle through this. It is reasonably easy to do so, as long as nobody comes over here. And it looks like they won't.
Yeah, they don't have any vision of it, so that's pretty solid. And are going to be able to pick on up the Aegis. Force Staff picked up on the Clockwork. It's starting to really get into a position where they're going to be able to kind of roll through this a little bit more. Do you feel like it's worth it to go for the mechanism on the Tusk, or is there another item you would like a little bit more?
I like the mech. The extra armor against the Templar Assassin is, of course, going to be very valuable, and if you're not the one doomed, which you're probably not going to be inside these fights, they'll reserve it mostly for the Wind Ranger and mostly for the Huskar, even more than that. Yeah, so I think that's good. If he wants to go for a Blink or a Force Staff, these are all acceptable. Just build something utility-focused for the team. And Doom's item of choice is going to be a Shiva's, but he's hookshot mid.
Yeah, going to be able to catch him on out there. Everybody moving on in. Also, the Blade Mail is committed for this one. Snowball forward. The Zeus ulti coming out. They are going to be able to Walrus punch him down. Shards are on cooldown now, so Doom is able to get out of there. Last second to jump forward onto the Huskar, trying to burst him down to maybe take him out in the end of the base. But now Doom isn't here for the rest of this team fight, and TA needs to be a little bit careful at this point. This is going to be a kill on top of the Zeus off to the side. TA able to take on down the Winter Wyvern over there, but now trying to man fight up against the Huskar. The Aegis has been popped. Snowball back forward onto maybe. Rubik is here as well. Dust finally committed for this one, and Tusk is in a little bit of trouble. They are going to disengage at this point, but ended up burning through the Aegis, also taking out the Wind Ranger and the Winter Wyvern. Was that... There weren't any buybacks either. They just killed the Tusk. What a terrible team fight for duobao. That really didn't go the way that I thought it was.
No, that was really well executed by LGD, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that they have to commit so much to drop the Doom low. They don't even kill him. He casually TPs home. That Shiva's is showing its power inside that last fight. And of course, any, what is it, almost 5,000 gold item should be having that big of an impact, but it really did change a lot there. That plus the 45 HP regen a second from Scorched Earth. It's just insane, and maybe is trucking now. The Blink Deso up, and he has 2,600 gold near enough.
Yeah.
Get himself a BKB next, he's going to be almost unstoppable.
That's really the scary part for me, at least in this lineup, is that you have so much more room to grow here. I mean, on all of the heroes too. Everybody scales well right now for LGD. I think that I'm hesitant to say this just because of how well duobao played it, but I think that they're really in trouble at this point if they don't start making some serious grouping up and taking team fights that they need to. It does look like they might be able to find a pickoff here. On top of the Doom, they do have a lot of damage coming out, but yeah, okay, I think that this is a clean pickoff on Sylar here.
The edge of that sentry is right there. He was just inside range for that true sight coming out from DP. A really nice pickup, and on a high net worth hero as well. We'll give them a swing of about 1,200 gold, 1,600 experience. Still, I really find it difficult to see how they deal with this Templar Assassin if the Winter Wyvern ends up going down early inside the fights. They need Wyvern to survive. Oh, Wind Ranger can't get out. The Thunder God's Wrath, and the damage is just too much.
Everything committed there. She waited to the very last second to hopefully be able to TP out after the lightning bolt, but wasn't quite there in time, and the damage was just a little bit too high. So they end up, after losing the Doom, immediately being able to find a pickoff on the Wind Ranger, and just like that, what you thought was going to be a pretty solid situation ends up turning back on its head. So duobao definitely, I mean, they have the lead in terms of kills, but in terms of net worth, with the Bounty Hunter track kills, 10k, as well as the experience lead, the efficient farming, 7,500 experience, they're just in such a good spot right now. And again, as this game gets later and later, I feel like it might almost be worth it for Rubik to go for an Aghanims. Do you think it's worth it to go for another defensive item first on him?
I'm not sure how I feel about Aghs this game. The upgrades that are Aghanimed up coming out from DB aren't super impressive, at least the ones that that Rubik wants to be stealing. Clockwork Aghs is probably as good as it gets. Being able to chain steal from DB is good, but I think maybe having like a Solar Crest or a Force Staff might be a little bit better. That's mostly up to personal preference. If he wants to go Aghs, all the power to him. I think you could definitely make that work. His MMY is going to get caught out, and it's going to be the dominating spree for your Clockwork. I think the biggest issue for me for the side of DB is the fact that their net worth distribution is very much focused on Meng on this Clockwork, and he is going to be going for that X, which is of course an amazing pickup. Snowball mid.
They're not going to be able to catch this one on DDC, unfortunately. Shards thrown potentially a little bit too early with the Force Staff as well as the Blinks on out of there. They've just got too much mobility, and the Rubik is finally able to make his way out of there. So back and forth we go. Kind of a crazy game.
Deep.
Oh, are they going to be able to find this one? Doom interrupted now. Walrus punch down as well. They do end up having the Huskar caught out to the side with the shackle shot being connected on top of them. They're going to try and get out of here, but again, the team fight is just fallen over way over the other side. It's fighting all the way from the tier 1 of the Radiant all the way to the tier 2 of the Dire, and Gem of True Sight dropped on the ground. 3 kills rather from LGD onto duobao, and only picking off the TA for all the trouble.
Now, we talk about split apart fights pretty often, but that's about as sprawled as you're gonna get. The Huskar was completely cut out. He goes against the Zeus solo, and under normal circumstances, you might be able to get that kill, but it really felt like they were just on different pages, and the rest of the team is like, oh, our Huskars come in, let's try to retreat. And then Templar Assassin's like, sure, let's jump after them. And it ends up working really well for LGD. Not only in the fight in a vacuum, but then you factor in track on top of that. At the very least, Huskar was tracked. I'm not sure about the fight up towards the north, and they'll be able to take a tier 2 right after the fact, and it increasingly is looking better for LGD as we have a full MKB on this TA. That's ridiculous, and I think this is mostly preemptive to Huskar's Halberd, but he's nowhere close to that after picking up a casual Ghost Scepter.
He had to go for the Ghost Scepter even, so a really, really interesting collection of skill builds here. I think it makes sense against the lineup that you've got here. You need to be able to sort of survive throughout that and hope that your team is going to be able to control that TA for you. It does look like the Clockwork is going to try and find the Doom here. With one more creep in the way, though, it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to find the initiation angle, and maybe could go for it if he wants to, but this is just such a weird game, honestly. Like, we've seen a very interesting draft that's kind of turned into these crazy sprawling team fights. They're going to be able to find out the Wind Ranger here. Does use the Wind Run. Now we also have a Shiva's Guard coming out. Doom committed. Look at that Wind Ranger fall. Just too much damage.
In addition to making the Huskar's item progression very difficult, the MKB explodes the Wind Ranger. That was disgusting. And they're going to keep on going. There's really nothing stopping LGD at this point, and that's very scary. Lift up on Mang. They cancel that Force Staff, and now Doom him up to Clockwork. It's gone.
Yeah, the Shackle Stolen by the Rubik is such a great spell there. All of a sudden, you've just got this great ability to lock all these heroes down. 1,300 net worth after that one. The Winter Wyvern ends up getting the TP. No, gonna end up going down there. 1-2 shot in conjunction with the damage coming out from Zeus. And honestly, as strange as it is, this might be close to GG at this point for duobao. What do you do against this lineup? They're just so freaking farmed over you in terms of the item builds and everything.
Yeah, I mean, if we take a look at the net worth graph, it's gross. But what makes this even worse is the fact that the Huskar is super underfarmed, and the Wind Ranger is super underfarmed. They're pretty much sandwiched between the Zeus and Rubik when it comes to net worth, and that's just not something you can be happy about. The utility items are coming out from LGD, and they're not from DV. They're going to look for a Focus Fire onto the Templar Assassin, 4-step away. Maybe he's going to buy a little bit more space. The Doom is in the middle of the fray. They're going to throw a shuriken back and forth. The spears are starting to stack up as they snowball forward, trying to catch out Sylar. Power shot through top of the BKB and turns. War's punch into the air. But they just don't have the damage to kill off Sylar yet. But here comes the hook shot. Here comes the Huskar. Will they be able to kill off this Doom? He's going to be throwing the Rubik snowball. He survived for a little while longer. Eventually will go down. But here's TA to clean up everything. Triple kill for Maybe. And they're looking for the Winter Wyvern too.
Oh my god, it's disgusting, honestly. Look at that. 1-2, why not? Ultra kill on Maybe. Everything that you could possibly want. She has more net worth than the next two heroes on the Dire at this point. Just about. After you end up taking this first stage of Raxes, it's definitely going to be the case. And right now, what is that? That's an 1,800 gold swing buyback status right now. You have a buyback on just about everybody except for the Wind Ranger and the Tusk, honestly. GG, well played, ends up getting called. LGD end up taking it. They won in our hearts, didn't win in the game, unfortunately, as duobao do end up getting knocked out. Thank you guys very much for watching. It was an absolute pleasure casting for you guys. Would have wished to see it go the other way to a certain extent just because of that underdog story, but still a great series. Any final thoughts here, Grandis, before we end up moving on?
If anything, viewers are going to think twice before betting against duobao. They, although lose the series, at least looked a lot better than 95-5% or even 93-7. This was a good series coming out from them, and I think the biggest issue in this game is they just didn't farm enough and they missed their windows. Simple as that. It happens, and I look forward to seeing duobao in the future, but congratulations to LGD. duobao now going to be going down to the lower bracket to face against the former DK squad, and LGD are one match away from qualifying for Star Ladder.
All right, well, very excited for those and see how the next couple of games go out. We do still have one more series today, which is going to be Wings versus Invictus Gaming. Stick around for that one in just a couple of minutes. Yet again, at Lyrical Dota and at GrandisV. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Twitch, follow us on everywhere except for in real life because that's kind of creepy. And we'll see you guys next time.